Hey guys, Nick here with another breaking gaming news update. I thought things were going to settle down from Thursday. Apparently they haven't. For those of you that don't know, let's go ahead and do a quick recap as far as what happened then. What happened is Epic in its current crusade to lower the cost to developers and to itself, updated their very popular Fortnite application in order to add in their own in-app purchases into the game, meaning you could bypass the Apple or the Google Play Store and pay them directly for your very cherished V-Bucks to be able to buy items in game. What that involved is you having two options when you purchased, one of which would charge you like 20% more for V-Bucks than the alternative. If you bought them directly from Epic, you got the advantage of having the discount that they did across the board for Fortnite, charging you much less for V-Bucks, that being 20%, so $10 would now be $8, in order to be able to purchase items in the game itself. Now, if you chose to purchase through the App Store, you still had the old price point. This was kind of a pointed move to try to force Apple into doing something aggressive that they fully expected, which happened. Their application got pulled off of the App Store, and it also got pulled off the Google Play Store. They then turned around and filed lawsuits against both, and they put in an in-game advertisement parodying one of Apple's 1980 commercials, talking that referenced 1984. If you guys aren't familiar, that's a book about a dystopian future. You can look that up. At the end of that ad, they put hashtag free Fortnite. That was basically a cry to their player base to rally them against Apple and Google Play for what they felt was an excess charge for hosting their application. This is not the first time that Epic has done this. They did it on the Google Store several years ago and had their application pulled, where they had pulled a similar stunt. They made amends and were eventually let back on the store. What agreement they came to, I don't know. I haven't researched that yet. They have also had a scrap with Steam, which you guys are probably also aware of, where they tried to get Steam to lower the cost of hosting applications on their store because they have also been charging the 30%. Steam told them, no, if you don't like it, you can go elsewhere. So what they did is they built their own launcher and started hosting their own store where they charge 12% to the developers as opposed to the 30% from Steam. The hope in this was twofold. One, that they would be able to run their own store and not have any cost for hosting their games, and people would come to them for games, and they would make at least a modest profit of it while cutting the developers' costs. And that they would be able to lure developers away and force Steam to lower their costs so that things would be better across the board. That was it in theory, at least, according to Tim Sweeney. This is just the most current attack that they've had on other companies that they perceive doing the exact same thing, that being Apple and Google. So, when they did that, got it pulled, and then filed their lawsuit, they have now gained a new ally as of, I want to say late yesterday or early this morning, in Facebook. So, if we go and take a look at this, you can see that eGadget has an article saying that Facebook is the latest tech giant to blast Apple's App Store tax. Facebook has become the latest company to rally against Apple's fees for the in-app purchases. The social network announced a new update aimed at small businesses, in which they will allow companies to charge for online events. In the update that was first previewed in April, business owners could plan an online event like a cooking or workout class and charge followers for access. But Facebook says business owners won't be able to benefit from this feature as much as they should due to Apple's developer policies. While Facebook says it doesn't plan to take any cut from small businesses' revenue for at least the next year, it notes that Apple will still take its standard commission on purchases made via Facebook's iOS app. They also went on to say that we asked Apple to reduce its 30% App Store tax or allow us to offer Facebook Pay so we could absorb all costs for businesses struggling during COVID-19. Facebook followed up with a blog post saying, unfortunately, they dismissed both our request and SMBs and will only be paid 70% of their earned revenue. The social network says it plans to alert its users in the app that Apple gets a 30% cut of their purchase, and that it submitted an update for Apple's approval and is awaiting a response. Apple did not immediately respond for comment as of this article. So what this means is Facebook is now going on the attack with Apple, saying that they're being unfair to other people, especially during a time of crisis, with their pricing mechanism, and that these small businesses need to have this revenue in order to stay afloat, or to be able to even get their business off the ground during these trying times. I don't necessarily disagree with Facebook, and I don't necessarily disagree with Apple. I think Apple could lower their tax at least for the next year or so to try to help small businesses and small developers get by during this very, very weird time that we're having right now. I also like that Facebook is saying that they're not taking any of the revenue for the next year for similar reasons. That's a good call, and it's a very nice thing to do. But I don't feel that Apple is completely in the wrong for wanting to get paid. Back when smartphones were relatively new and we had the BlackBerry and Apple brought out the iPhone, which brought us the touchscreen display and the in-app store, they kind of revolutionized the business. And they did that by doing two things. One, making a smartphone easy and accessible through a touchscreen to where it was intuitive and easy to use. And they also made a unified storefront. And that unified storefront came with advantages for both consumers and for developers. Developers had one storefront that everybody could find their application on, and they could get more notice, and they got more users. The customers got the reliability and testing that Apple provides for applications that are submitted, so that they're sure that that application will run effectively on their phone and won't cause it problems. So they got more stability out of their device and visibility into applications they might have missed, and developers got a storefront where they were sure that customers could find everything and they could get paid. That came with the 30% tax. That idea came from Steam, flat out. Steam had been charging the 30% long before Apple came up with the App Store, which is probably where they got the idea from the App Store in the first place, because Steam had long since started unifying the PC market under its banner by doing exactly the same thing that Apple was doing in the smartphone market. Now, since then, Epic and other companies have felt that this tax is too high at this point and should be lowered. And neither giant has really been willing to budge. Steam has not been willing to budge, which is why Epic went out, like we discussed earlier, and made their own storefront. Apple has refused to move the bar, and they have no competition because they designed it that way. In iOS, there can be no other store, unlike an Android market. Whereas on the Android, you have the Samsung Galaxy Store, or you can go directly to a website to buy an application and install it independently. The iOS interface does not allow for this kind of thing, and that is strictly by design, because Apple wants you using their storefront with their testing to get applications on their device. It's their device as far as they are concerned. So neither is completely wrong. Apple does do a lot of testing and a lot of work to ensure that these applications run smoothly and that they don't cause problems for your device like crash it. But Facebook and Epic aren't really wrong that especially during 2020, a lot of businesses are having difficulties and they could use some help. And the tax at this point can start to feel a little much for those business owners and could be the difference between being able to keep the doors open or them shutting. So it's hard to say that either's right and either's wrong. I don't think any of them are doing this for altruistic reasons. They all want to keep more of the revenue for themselves as well. Straight up. But we're going to have to keep an eye on this and see how this goes. This is an interesting play by Facebook, I feel like, backing Epic and its stance. And I think it might actually help get some more movement towards the cost of developers having their games hosted and the amount of revenue that's taken from them per purchase more seriously. Whether or not this translates to lower prices for me and you is another story. We're going to have to wait and see on that one. But until next time, guys, I'll see you next time.